With the district lines still uncertain, we have not heard much about Senate and Assembly races, but one contest is shaping up to be very interesting. Senator Greg Ball, who defeated Republican primary leader's pick to win his seat in 2010, officially got a primary opponent of his own this week when Assemblyman Steve Katz launched his own campaign. Both camps have already started the attacks. It's getting quite weird, actually. Joining me now to talk about the race as well as the latest going on down at the Capitol is Senator Greg Ball. Senator, thank you for your time.
Hey, good to be here. How are you?
I am well, thank you. So let's start with some policy and work our way down to the politics. Does that work for you?
Sounds good.
Okay. We are hearing about a potential big, ugly agreement, if you will, right, which would be the budget, perhaps the governor's holding out for pension reform. What do you know coming out of the Senate Republican conference?
Well, I mean, I think that it seems like consensus is certainly coming together on the various fronts. The Assembly is certainly pushing for a host of initiatives that I know that I personally don't agree with. We came out with a real focus on job creation, on cutting taxes, now actually helping small business owners, and a cut in the corporate tax rate, as well as tax incentives to help employ veterans and those who are currently unemployed. So those negotiations, I'm certain, are going to continue to be ongoing. I hope that we're successful in getting those in the budget. But as far as on pension reform, I think for good reason there are some concerns. I may not be towing the party line, imagine that, by just not saying 110%, let's move forward. My background, my mother probably never made more than $29,000 a year. She worked overtime, which has become a dirty word in recent days. She worked at Harlem Valley Psychiatric Center. She actually never graduated from high school. And quite honestly, it was overtime that allowed us to pay the bills. And so I think the reforms are necessary, but I also think that we have to be careful as a legislature to not consistently throw the baby out with the bathwater. So some of the concerns that are being raised on all sides, I think, are good. I think the governor's hearing it. And it certainly looks, while not on the inside always on those conversations, it looks like there's movement in the right direction.
Just to be clear, if in fact there is a pension reform agreement among the leaders and the governor that includes some sort of reduction of what some people call pension padding, but overtime, and how that calculates into your final benefit, will you vote no?
Well, I think that for good reason, pension reform is being embraced. It's extremely important during these tough times when we have seen real hemorrhaging in the private sector to have some equality. I have some real concerns to make sure, especially on the public protection front, where we're talking about our cops and our firemen, our EMTs, the corrections groups. I personally would have liked to see real protections there. So I'm going to wait till I see the final language, but I think that in what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing in conference and beyond, that there's a common sense approach that's moving forward that will save taxpayers, but at the same time, protect the blue collar folks and their ability to make a living.
I saw today that one of your colleagues, Senator Laval, actually proposed a 5-year moratorium on fracking. And I was a little bit surprised because you have been quite outspoken on that particular topic. You and I actually discussed it down on the farm, if I remember correctly, not so terribly long ago. Does that, first of all, why did you not take that up? And also, does it have any hope in your conference? Because I know some of your colleagues, for example, Senator Libous, are quite pro-fracking.
I think what's happening on hydraulic fracturing is that throughout the state, that this magical wand approach that this has been suggested is going to solve all of our problems, and we're going to be able to follow the rainbow to this pot of gold and never have to even use Saudi Arabia in our lexicon again. That people are realizing that there's some real implications with this technology, that in other states there have been hardships posed not only on the environment, as if that's not serious enough, but on sportsmen, on farmers, on private property owners. And I think that there are those in my conference and beyond that are realizing that. And we're beginning to win the day in the argument. It doesn't mean that you can't have hydraulic fracturing, but the industry has to be properly regulated, and you can't have a multi-billion-dollar industry that's able to unfairly take advantage of private property owners and farmers and sportsmen. So I introduced a moratorium, this 5-year moratorium, takes it a step further. The point is this, is that until the industry is properly regulated, until we have the manpower to enforce those regulations, and until the technology progresses, we're in a dangerous situation.
Well, we'll see. Obviously, of course, our viewers are very concerned about that particular issue. We'll be following it pretty closely. I do, however, want to turn to politics because what's going on in your race, sir, is downright bizarre. What is going on between you?
Imagine that, Liz. That's a first.
Senator, right. I was around to cover the dead goat on your lawn. Remember that? Yeah, okay.
Actually, in the driveway, in the driveway.
Forgive me, I stand corrected. So now we have a race between you and a former ally, Assemblyman Steve Katz. What happened between the two of you? What was the final breaking point?
I mean, look, you have to ask him. At the end of the day, nobody has done more to help the Assemblyman than myself, both legislatively and during the campaign, endorsements, and literally tens of thousands of dollars of support. But these are tough times. Elected officials should be working together. The point is, I've actually term limited myself. I'm not going to be around here forever. This isn't my retirement plan. I have 4 years left. Should I decide on that term limit pledge? But we should be working together, and I look forward to working with all the elected officials. I never thought that somebody would try to take me on from the right. I have the top ranked conservative record in the Senate by the New York State Conservative Party. He has a D+ rating. I love Republican primaries. I've never shied away from them, but I'm sure it'll be interesting.
To say the least. So what predicated my comment about dead animals is that there was this robocall that suggested that Assemblyman Katz had a quote-unquote criminal past that he was somehow hiding. It turned out that he had been arrested for dumping a dead dog into his garbage can. It's a very long and tangled story. He is a veterinarian. It's connected to that. He was not charged in the end. But I just wanted to ask you, that robocall or any of what has come out since that pushed that story around, are you or anybody connected to you responsible for that?
Well, I mean, a couple of things, Liz. You also forgot about the vicious Chihuahua that he protected himself from. And I'll tell you this: if I had a double arrest record as well as tax liens and a $100,000 sexual harassment suit that I settled, I bet it would be on the front page of the New York Post and Daily News. So these are serious things that are going to have to be dealt with. And at the end of the day, when you suggest that you want to be the Republican nominee in a critical statewide race, a double arrest record is something that I'm sure that the Democrats on the other side of the aisle would have a lot of fun with, and compounding that with the other issues. The robocall itself was not an effort on behalf of my campaign. But these are legitimate issues. We're going to focus on his D+ rating by the Conservative Party, his 15% attendance record, and his liberal votes in the primary. So, there's certainly enough fodder there, and we'll leave the arrest records to the general discourse.
Well, certainly you're no stranger to being the target of any kind of allegations. I mean, when you ran, your own party actually had all of these mailers that highlighted allegations that have been made against you. So
sure,
you are experienced in this. It seems to me, though, that this is all really about a falling out that you had with the Assemblyman's wife because you defriended her on Facebook. Is that really what this is about?
If that's the case, it's and I'm not going to say that it's not. For those who don't know, the Assemblyman's wife was posting some rather rude comments on the Facebook page, and they were deleted. And she went out and made a video where she put duct tape on her mouth,
right?
And sent that video around. It was struck me as being odd, and even after all the help that I've given the Assemblyman within the months preceding that, the relationship seemed to take a downward spiral. But I'll say this, in a day and age where people are losing their homes and can't pay their taxes, this is kind of silly and childish. And Liz will just say this, I have never shied away from a primary. I look forward to it. It allows me to build up my organization, and I think that the people will see through all this.
Let me just ask you this in parting, Senator. Obviously, your party is very interested in holding the majority. That is their main focus. Yep. That is the focus of redistricting. That is the focus of all their fundraising. You're sitting in a fairly safe Republican seat, although we don't know the final lines. Do you know if Senator Skelos and other leadership members are going to support you with cash if you need it, or anything else against Assemblyman Katz? Or are they just going to let you fight for yourself?
No, I have the full backing, and this will be the first time. I've always had to run a complete grassroots effort, but I'm proud to have the support of my conference and everything that comes along with it. But we will continue to run a very strong grassroots campaign. You know, even as an incumbent assemblyman, because of my independence, I never had the backing of even the local Republican Party. Even the conservatives, when I was that fire-breathing dragon in the New York State Assembly with you know, an A top-notch conservative rating, even they didn't give me the endorsement because of my independence. I had to run a write-in campaign and beat them 3-1.
I remember.
But this is the first time it's looking like we're going to have the institutional support as well as the grassroots support, and that's why it's seemingly odd that the assemblyman who sits in a very safe seat would wage this kind of battle and really only open up the pathway to the New York City Democrats that would love to capitalize upon this and take this seat that could decide the balance of power as it has in the past.
Well, okay, Greg Ball insider. That's something kind of odd, actually, I've got to say. But Senator, we will be following your race, of course, and I want to thank you very much for making yourself available.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.